Welcome to Shredder Fanfic. Like, subscribe, and hype video. Join members to gain early access to new videos.
The main character, after dying inside of his previous life, he gets reborn inside of Sonic, and he is reborn as Greninja from Pokemon. What is Greninja gonna do inside of Sonic?
Asterisk Chapter 1. The Ninja in Green Hill. Ren died in rain. One moment he was gripping a steering wheel too hard, headlights smeared across wet glass, a horn screaming somewhere close. The next, the world folded inward with the sound of metal crushing around him. Then grass brushed his face. Ren woke with his cheek pressed against warm earth and sunlight burning orange through his eyelids. Wind rolled over him, carrying the smell of clean water, flowers, oil, and something metallic in the distance. He opened his eyes. Green hills curved under a sky so blue it looked fake. Checkered cliffs rose beyond the trees. Loops of earth curled impossibly over themselves. A waterfall glittered down a stone face into a bright stream. Ren knew that landscape. His first thought was not joy. It was panic. He tried to push himself up and saw 3 black fingers, ending in pale claws, dig into the dirt. Ren froze. The hand was not human. His arm was blue-black, sleek, and strong in a way his old body had never been. His legs were folded wrong beneath him, long and powerful, built for leaping. A thick tongue wrapped around his neck like a scarf, and when he gasped, it moved with him. "No," he tried to say. What came out was a rough, wet croak. Ren scrambled backward, tripped over his own foot, and landed in the stream with a splash. The water showed him the rest. A narrow head, red eyes, a pale crest, a tongue scarf, long limbs, a body that belonged in Pokemon, not Sonic's world. Greninja. Ren stared at his reflection, while the stream ran around his knees. He had died. He had woken up in Green Hill. And he was a Greninja. For several seconds, his brain tried to reject all 3 facts. Then a small brown rabbit hopped out of the grass on the far bank, saw him, and froze. Ren froze too. The rabbit's ears stood straight up. Its nose twitched. It looked ready to run, but not yet sure which direction was safest. Ren slowly lifted both hands. Claws. That probably did not help. "I am not going to hurt you," he said. The words came out as broken croaks and soft clicks. The rabbit took 1 step back. Ren lowered himself until he looked smaller, or at least less like something about to pounce. His new instincts noticed everything: the rabbit's heartbeat, the wind direction, the exact distance between them, the easy angle of attack. He hated how natural that last thought felt. He pushed it away. A metallic buzz cut through the valley. The rabbit bolted under a root. Ren turned. 3 Eggman robots marched along the hillside below, round bodies shining red and grey, arms ending in grabber claws. A tiny blue bird struggled inside a glass capsule built into the lead machine's chest. Ren's fear changed shape. He knew Sonic's world. He knew Eggman's robots. He knew the animals trapped inside them were not decoration. The lead robot raised 1 claw toward the root where the rabbit hid. Ren moved before he decided to. His legs launched him across the stream. He hit the grass, rolled, and came up on all 4s. Water gathered around his palm, spinning into a sharp star. Water shuriken. Ren stared for half a breath. Then he threw it. The shuriken struck the lead robot's shoulder. Metal cracked. The machine staggered, sensors swinging toward him. Ren's body knew what to do next better than he did. He vanished into the grass, not invisible exactly, but low, fast, and silent. A laser burned the spot where he had been. He leapt from a rock, kicked off a tree trunk, and landed on the robot's back with both claws sunk into metal. The robot spun. Ren nearly fell. The trapped bird cried out inside the glass capsule. "Hold on," Ren croaked, though he doubted it understood him. He drove a water blade through the capsule latch. The glass popped open. The bird shot into the air as the robot collapsed under him. 2 more machines charged. Ren did not fight like Sonic. He could not. He was not a blue blur built for straight-line speed. He was something quieter. He ducked behind a boulder, waited until the first robot rounded it, then cut its leg joint with a water blade. The second fired. Ren leapt over the beam, twisted in the air, and threw another shuriken into its sensor. The machine crashed into a palm tree and exploded in sparks. Silence returned slowly. Ren stood in the smoking grass, chest heaving. The freed bird circled once overhead before disappearing into the trees. The rabbit peeked out from under the root. Ren looked at his claws. He had just destroyed 3 robots. He had also wanted, for one terrible second, to hunt. The thought left him cold, even in the sunlight. Far across Green Hill, another robot drone lifted above the trees, its red eye turning toward the smoke. Ren crouched instinctively. Somewhere out there were Sonic, Tails, Eggman, Chaos Emeralds, and all the impossible disasters he remembered from games and shows. But right now, one thing mattered. Eggman had seen him. Ren pulled his tongue scarf tighter around his neck, turned toward the deeper forest, and ran. He did not get far before his new body forced him to stop thinking like a man and start surviving like a creature. The forest beyond the clearing was too loud. Leaves scraped together above him. Insects clicked under bark. Water moved somewhere downhill, thin and bright and impossible to ignore. Ren's tongue scarf shifted with every breath, tasting damp soil, machine oil, rabbit fur, and his own panic. He dropped to all fours, without meaning to. The movement should have felt humiliating. Instead, it felt efficient. His hands found roots before his feet slipped. His knees bent the wrong way for a human and the right way for this body. When he jumped, he went too high, slapped into a branch chest first, and clung there with claws buried in bark. For a few seconds, he just hung from the tree and breathed. Below him, Clover crept from the roots again. The rabbit looked at the broken badniks, then at Ren, then at the deeper woods, as if asking whether he had any idea where he was going. Ren almost laughed. It came out as a dry, clicking croak. No, he had no idea. He knew Sonic's world from screens and stories. He knew loops, golden rings, chaos emeralds, Eggman's moustache, and the blue blur who somehow saved the day even when the planet cracked open. None of that told him which berries were safe, where the rivers ran, or how to sleep when every bird wing sounded like a warning. His shoulder brushed a leaf heavy with dew. Ren stared at the water bead. Thirst hit him hard enough to hurt. He followed the sound downhill, stumbling less with every step. By the time he reached the stream, he was moving in short, silent bursts, tree to rock to fern shadow. The water reflected a face that still made his thoughts skip. Red eyes, pale head fins, a mouth too wide, and that long tongue wrapped around his neck like a scarf. Not a costume. Not a dream. Ren dipped both hands into the stream. The water climbed his fingers. He jerked back. The water fell, but not all the way. A thin ribbon stayed around his wrist, trembling like it waited for an order. Ren swallowed. Eggman had seen him. That mattered, but this mattered too. He was not helpless. He closed his hand, and the ribbon snapped into a tiny spinning blade before splashing apart. Clover thumped once from the bank. Ren looked at the rabbit, then toward the smoke behind them. If Eggman came back, Ren needed more than fear. He needed control. Ren stayed at the stream until his breathing stopped shaking. He practiced closing and opening his hand until the water stopped jumping at every twitch. The blade never lasted long, but each attempt taught him something. Too much fear made it spray apart, too much force made it heavy, and calm made it sharp. That was useful. He did not know much yet, but he knew this world would punish panic. So he crouched by the water with Clover watching from the grass and practiced until smoke from the broken robots faded behind the trees. Chapter 2. Water and Static. Running as a Greninja was nothing like running as a human. Ren learned that by crashing face first into a tree. His legs wanted to spring farther than his eyes expected. His arms kept dropping toward the ground for balance. His tongue scarf caught on a branch, snapped back, and slapped him in the face hard enough to make him hiss. The rabbit watched from a safe distance. Ren pointed one claw at it. "Do not judge me." It blinked. The sound came out wrong, but the feeling helped. He spent the next hour learning how not to fall. Green Hill became his training ground whether he wanted it or not. He jumped from stone to stone across the stream. He climbed a cliff with claws sunk into checkered rock. He tried to form water shuriken and accidentally sprayed himself in the face twice before getting one stable enough to throw. The rabbit followed him. Not too close, never close enough to touch. But every time Ren looked back, it was there, pretending to eat grass while clearly watching him make an idiot of himself. Ren started calling it Clover in his head. It was easier than thinking about being dead. Near noon, he found the broken robots again. The machines lay where he had left them, half buried in grass and smoke. Ren crouched beside one and studied the cracked capsule in its chest. The bird had escaped because the latch broke. That part mattered. Eggman's robots captured living animals and used them as power sources. He knew that from fiction. Seeing it in person made his stomach twist. Ren touched the machine's metal shell. Cold. Dead. Good. A chirp came from the nearby bushes. Clover was not looking at him anymore. Ren followed its gaze. A small hovering drone drifted between the trees, red lens turning silently. It was smaller than the robots, no arms, just a camera body and tiny rotors. Scout. Ren dropped flat. The drone's lens swept over the clearing. Clover froze in the open. Ren cursed in a language his new mouth could not pronounce and flicked one hand. A thin water blade formed between his claws. He could destroy it. But if it transmitted what it saw before breaking, Eggman would know exactly where he was. Ren crawled through the grass instead. Every instinct in his body like this. Too much. The angle of the wind, the rustle of leaves, the drone's blind spot, the rabbit's frantic heartbeat. His body was built to stalk. Ren kept his focus on the machine. Not the rabbit. He reached a tree trunk, climbed without thinking, and hung upside down from a branch above the drone. When the lens turned away, he dropped. One claw pierced the rotor housing. The drone twitched. Ren wrapped his other hand around the lens and pushed water into the casing. Static crackled. The drone died quietly in his grip. Ren landed in a crouch, breathing hard. Clover bolted to the safety of the roots. Yeah, Ren croaked. Fair. The drone's red lens flickered once. Not dead enough. Ren jerked back as a tiny speaker sparked to life. Unknown biosignature confirmed, a cheerful nasal voice said through static. Amphibian, reptile, ninja frog, oh ho ho, now that is new. Ren went still. Dr. Eggman. Of course. My little scout only caught a glimpse, Eggman continued, but that was enough. You broke 3 badniks, freed my battery animals, and used water as a weapon. Very rude, very interesting. Ren crushed the speaker. The clearing went quiet. Clover peeked out again. Ren's pulse hammered. Eggman knew he existed. Not fully, not yet, but enough to be curious. Curious was dangerous. Ren grabbed the dead drone and dragged it under a bush. He did not know if that helped, but doing something felt better than standing still. Then another sound rolled across Green Hill. Not a robot. A distant rush of wind, A laugh, the sharp skid of shoes across grass. Ren looked toward the sound. A blue streak shot along the hilltop, looped around a palm tree, and stopped beside the broken robots in a spray of dust. Sonic the Hedgehog stood there with one hand on his hip, green eyes narrowed at the wreckage. Behind him, a small orange fox with two tails flew down holding a handheld scanner. Tails. Ren forgot how to breathe. Clover made a tiny squeak. Sonic's ears twitched. His gaze snapped toward the bushes. Ren had 1 second to decide whether to run. His legs wanted to. Instead, he slowly lifted both clawed hands where Sonic could see them. Sonic stared. Tails' scanner beeped so fast it sounded panicked. "Ah, Sonic," Tails said. "I have no idea what that is." Ren tried to say, "I can explain." What came out was a low, nervous croak. Sonic blinked. Then he grinned. "Well," Sonic said, "that's new." Nobody moved for a long second. Ren's arms stayed raised. His claws were too long, too sharp, and too close to Sonic's height for comfort. He angled his palms outward, hoping the gesture meant surrender in this world too. Sonic did not look scared. That might have been the most frightening thing about him. The hedgehog studied Ren from sneakers to head fins with a quick, bright focus, the way someone might study a new ramp before deciding whether to jump off it. Tails was more cautious. His scanner kept beeping, and every beep made Ren's skin twitch. "No Badnik signal," Tails said. "No metal frame. No Chaos Emerald reading either. He is biological, I think, mostly, maybe." Sonic scratched his cheek. "You get all that from the little box." "I get enough to know. Eggman did not build him out of spare parts." Ren understood the words. That was a relief so sharp it almost made his knees buckle. He could understand them. He just could not answer. He lowered one hand slowly and touched his own chest. "You," Sonic guessed. Ren nodded fast. Then he pointed at the broken drone, dragged one claw across the ground in a circle, and made a square shape with both hands like a cage. He pointed at himself, then shook his head hard. Tails' ears lifted. "Eggman is after you." Ren nodded again. Sonic's grin faded. "Yeah, that tracks. Egghead sees anything new and immediately starts thinking about nets." Clover chose that moment to hop from the bushes and hide behind Ren's ankle. Tails blinked, and the rabbit trusts him. Ren looked down, startled by the tiny vote of confidence. Clover was shaking, but she had still chosen his shadow over the open grass. Something in Ren's chest unclenched. Sonic noticed. Of course he noticed. The hedgehog took one step closer, then stopped when Ren stiffened. "Okay," Sonic said, holding up both hands. "No grabbing, no cages, no weird science table. We can start there." Tails winced. "I do have a science table." "Not helping, buddy." Ren made the clicking almost laugh again. Sonic heard it and grinned for real this time. "See, new guy's got taste." For the first time since waking up, Ren's fear had something else beside it. Not safety, not yet, but a thread of possibility, thin as water around his fingers. Tails lowered the scanner a little. "Can you write?" Ren blinked, then nodded. The fox dug through his pouch and tossed a small notepad onto the grass, careful to keep distance. Ren picked it up like it might explode. The pencil snapped in his claws on the first try. Sonic winced. Strong grip, good to know. Ren tried again with the broken half. The letters came out jagged, but readable. "R-E-N." Tails leaned forward. "Ren, that is your name." Ren nodded. Sonic pointed at himself with his thumb. "Sonic, you probably got that part." Ren nodded again, before he could stop himself. Sonic's eyes sharpened with interest, but he did not push. That restraint mattered. Ren filed it away beside the promise of no cages. Ren folded the notepad against his chest and watched them both carefully. Names were not trust, but they were a beginning. Sonic had given his freely. Tails had offered help without stepping closer. In a world where Eggman wanted to turn him into a specimen that mattered more than either of them knew. Asterisk Chapter 3. The Blue Blur and the Ninja Frog. Sonic did not attack. That was the first surprise. He stood in the clearing with one hand raised, palm out, like Ren was a frightened animal instead of a 6-foot ninja frog with claws sharp enough to carve robot armor. Easy, Sonic said. Nobody's throwing punches yet. Ren understood him perfectly. Answering was the problem. He tapped his own throat, then shook his head. Tails' ears perked. You understand us. Ren nodded. Tails took one step closer, scanner held carefully at his side instead of pointed like a weapon. Clover darted out from the roots and hid behind Ren's leg, which made Sonic's eyebrows rise. Ha, Sonic said. Little guy trusts you. Ren looked down at the rabbit. Trust was a strong word. Clover mostly looked like it had decided Ren was the least bad option in a day full of robots. Still, Ren did not move away. Tails glanced at the broken badniks. Did you do this? Ren nodded again. And freed the animals. Another nod. Sonic's grin softened into something more genuine. Then thanks. Ren did not know what to do with that. His instincts kept telling him to stay low, count exits, watch Sonic's feet, watch Tails' hands, watch the sky for drones. His human mind was still stuck on the impossible fact that Sonic the Hedgehog had just thanked him. Tails lifted the scanner. Can I scan you? It will not hurt. I'm just trying to figure out if Eggman made you. Ren recoiled before he meant to. Water gathered around his fingers. Sonic shifted between him and Tails faster than Ren could blink. Not attacking, blocking. Okay, Sonic said. Bad question. Tails lowered the scanner immediately. Sorry, I did not mean it like that. Ren forced the water to fall from his claws. He pointed at himself, then shook his head hard. Then he pointed toward the crushed drone hidden under the bush and mimed a round belly and huge mustache with both hands. Sonic stared for half a second. Then he laughed. Eggman saw you. Ren nodded. Tails hurried to the bush and pulled out the broken drone. His face tightened as he inspected the lens. This transmitted recently. How recently? Sonic asked. The drone answered for him. It sparked, twitched, and projected a red hologram into the air. Eggman's face appeared, distorted by static and far too pleased with itself. Hello, mysterious amphibious trespasser. And hello, Sonic. Naturally, you found my new curiosity first. Sonic folded his arms. Eggman. I was having a perfectly productive morning until some water-throwing ninja creature started dismantling my badniks. I wanted. Ren's claws slid out. Sonic heard them. His expression changed. Not fear. Anger on Ren's behalf. He's not yours, Sonic said. Eggman sniffed. Everything unusual in my operating area is temporarily mine until proven otherwise. Tails crushed the projector with his wrench. The hologram vanished. He has your rough location, Tails said. Sonic rolled his shoulders. Then we move. Ren pointed at the forest, then at himself. He could vanish alone. He had already been doing that. Sonic shook his head. Nope. Eggman wants you. You help the animals, and Tails is already making the thinking face. Tails flushed. I am not making a face. Buddy, you are absolutely making a face. Ren looked between them. Help from Sonic and Tails should have felt like a dream. Instead, it felt dangerous. If he followed them, Eggman would chase harder. If he ran alone, Eggman might catch him before Ren even learned how to speak properly. And if his Pokémon powers reacted badly to strange dimensional energy, Tails might be the only person in this world who could figure it out before something exploded. Clover nudged his ankle. Ren looked down. The rabbit stared up at him like it expected him to make the smart choice. Ren sighed through his nose, then tapped his chest twice. Tails tilted his head. Name. Ren nodded. He crouched and scratched 3 letters into the dirt with one claw. R-E-N. Sonic read it aloud. Ren. Hearing his name in Sonic's voice made the whole situation feel even less real. Sonic pointed at himself. Sonic, you probably guessed. Tails raised a hand. Tails. Ren nodded to both. A distant explosion shook the hillside. Black smoke rose beyond the trees. Tails checked his scanner. Badnik's squad, bigger than the first group. Eggman was not waiting. Sonic grinned, but his eyes stayed serious. Ren, can you fight and run? Ren thought about his clumsy legs, his water blades, the broken robots, the drone, the way his body knew stealth better than speech. He nodded. Great, Sonic said. Rule 1, keep up if you can. Sonic shot forward in a blue blur. Tails lifted off after him. Ren grabbed Clover gently, placed the rabbit in a safer hollow under the roots, and pointed for it to stay. Then he ran. He did not match Sonic's speed. Not even close. But he hit the trees, kicked off the trunks, vanished into leaves and sunlight, and found a different kind of fast. Below him, Eggman's robots marched into Green Hill. For the first time since waking up, Ren was not alone. Running with them taught Ren how different his new life was going to be. Sonic did not travel across Green Hill so much as rewrite the distance. He bounced from slope to slope, curled into a blue wheel, uncurled on a ridge, and still had time to glance back like this was a casual walk. Tails flew above the trees with his scanner in one hand and a wrench in the other. He called directions between bursts of propeller-like tail movement, somehow watching Ren, Sonic, and the Badniks all at once. Ren found a third path. He ran where Sonic did not, across trunks, under roots, along the shaded sides of rocks still wet from the stream. When a low branch blocked him, he did not duck. He planted a palm and swung around it. When his foot slipped, his tongue scarf lashed against his shoulder and startled him so badly he nearly crashed into a fern. Sonic laughed from below. You meant to do that, right? Ren shot him a glare. It was probably less threatening when delivered by someone clinging sideways to a tree. Tails angled closer. Your movement is not speed-based. It is momentum and surface control. That is amazing. Also, please do not fall on me. Ren clicked his tongue, then jumped to another trunk. The Badniks came into view between the leaves. Crab-like machines, round flying scouts, and 2 squat robots dragging cages across the grass. Inside the cages, birds and squirrels pressed against the bars. The sight punched through every awkward thought. Ren's body lowered. Sonic saw the change. Easy, we hit them together. Together. Ren knew the word. He knew what it should mean. He also knew his instincts wanted him to vanish, choose the weakest target, strike from behind, and disappear before the rest understood danger had arrived. That was useful. It was also lonely. Ren pointed at himself, then at the trees. He pointed at Sonic, then made a fast circle with one finger. Last, he pointed at Tails, and then at the cages. Tails frowned for half a second, then brightened. Sonic distracts. Ren disables. I open cages. Ren nodded. Sonic cracked his knuckles. Now that is my kind of introduction. He launched himself downhill. Ren waited 1 heartbeat longer, feeling the shape of the ambush settle into place. Then he moved through the leaves like a shadow with water in its hands. The first scout drone dropped before it ever saw him. Ren struck from above, one hand over its lens, and the other driving a water blade through the wing joint. He rode it down into the bushes, rolled away from the sparks, and looked up in time to see Sonic scatter 3 crab badniks across the field like kicked cans. Tails landed beside the first cage and worked the lock with a tool almost faster than Ren could follow. The animals inside bolted, but one bird circled back long enough to brush Tails's shoulder with a wing. Ren watched that and understood something important. This was not about looking powerful. It was about getting everyone out alive. Asterisk Chapter 4, Badnik Squad. Ren learned the first rule of running with Sonic after about 6 seconds. Do not try to run like Sonic. Sonic crossed the hillside in a blue streak, feet barely touching the grass before he was already somewhere else. Tails flew above him, twin tails spinning, one hand gripping his scanner while the other pointed toward the smoke rising ahead. Ren tried to follow on the ground. He lasted 3 strides before a root caught his foot and sent him sliding across the grass on his chest. Sonic looped back so fast the wind slapped Ren's face. "You okay?" Ren pushed himself up, grass stuck to his cheek, dignity somewhere behind him in the dirt. He gave Sonic a flat look. Sonic grinned, right too soon. Ren pointed up at the trees. Sonic glanced at the branches. "You want the high road." Ren nodded. "Works for me, Tails." Tails checked his scanner. Badnik Squad is moving toward the animal burrows near the East Ridge. 6 units, 1 heavy grabber. Ren understood enough. Animals, robots, hurry. He sprang into the nearest tree. This time, his body made sense. His claws caught bark, his legs compressed and launched. He moved branch to branch in silence, not as fast as Sonic, but with a different kind of speed. The world narrowed into angles and shadows. He saw paths Sonic could not use, gaps between leaves, wet bark that held his weight, sunlight that hid his shape. Below, Sonic raced ahead openly. Ren vanished above him. The Badnik Squad came into view near a cluster of burrows. 5 small red robots stomped through the grass, scanning the ground. Behind them rolled a larger machine with 4 arms and a glass cage built into its belly. Inside the cage, 2 birds and a squirrel slammed helplessly against the walls. Ren's claws tightened. His instincts whispered, drop, cut, finish. His human mind added, free the animals first. Sonic hit the first robot like a cannonball. Metal burst apart. A tiny bird flew free from the broken capsule. The other robots turned towards Sonic. Ren dropped behind them. He formed a water shuriken and threw it into the heavy grabber's wheel joint. The machine lurched sideways. Tails swooped in and smacked a flying drone with his wrench, sending it spinning into a palm tree. "Nice throw," Sonic called. Ren tried to answer and produced a croak that sounded like a broken horn. Sonic laughed. "We'll workshop it." The heavy grabber opened its cage hatch, not to release the animals, but to pull them deeper into its body. Ren saw the mechanism shift. No time. He leapt onto the machine's back and drove both water blades into the hinge. Sparks strung his face. The cage door popped loose. The squirrel fell. Ren caught it against his chest before it hit the ground. For one awful second, everything in his new body noticed the small creature's heartbeat. Prey. Ren went still. The squirrel trembled in his hands. Then Tails landed beside him. Ren. Ren slowly set the squirrel down. It bolted into the grass. Tails watched him carefully, not scared, not yet, but aware. Ren looked away, ashamed of a thought he had not chosen. A laser shot passed his shoulder. Sonic smashed the robot that fired it and skidded between Ren and the last 2 machines. Less guilt, more dodging. Ren moved. He vanished into the shadow under the heavy grabber, kicked off its broken wheel, and sliced through the power cable running along its belly. Sonic took the opening, curled into a spin, and punched through the machine's core. The heavy grabber exploded in a shower of bolts. Tails caught the 2 birds. Ren landed hard, rolled, and came up with water spinning around his fingers. No more robots moved. For a moment, the hillside was full of freed animals scattering into the brush. Sonic stretched like he had just finished a warm-up. Not bad, Ninja Frog. Ren frowned. Sonic pointed at him. Temporary nickname. Ren shook his head firmly. Tails smiled. He wrote Ren Sonic. Fine, fine. Not bad, Ren. That felt better. Then Tails's scanner beeped. His smile faded. Eggman received combat data from the heavy unit before it went down. Ren's stomach dropped. Sonic folded his arms. How much data? Enough to know Ren uses water attacks, stealth movement, and reacts strongly to captured animals. Ren looked toward the smoke curling from the wrecked grabber. Eggman had not caught him. But Eggman was learning. Sonic stepped beside him, suddenly serious. Then we make sure he learns the wrong lessons. Ren looked at him. Sonic grinned again, sharp and fearless. Come on, Tails has a workshop. If Eggman wants to study you, we study you first. The walk to the workshop was not really a walk. Sonic had two speeds, impossible and impatient. He kept darting ahead, circling back, running backward while talking, then remembering Ren could not answer most questions except by glaring or pointing. Tails tried to translate the silence anyway. He is probably processing, Tails said after Sonic asked Ren whether he ate chili dogs. Ren pointed at Tails, in grateful agreement. Sonic gasped. You have not even had one, and you are already taking his side. Harsh. Ren's mouth twitched. The path curved through a stretch of green hill untouched by the fight. Rings hovered over a slope in a neat arc, turning slowly in the sun. Ren stopped despite himself. Seeing them up close was stranger than seeing Sonic. They were not game icons now. They hummed faintly, warm and golden, bending the air around them. Tails noticed his stare. Power rings. They hold energy. Sonic uses them better than most people. I would not touch one until we know how your biology reacts. Ren pulled his hand back. Sonic, who had been reaching for one automatically, froze. Wait, could it explode? Probably not. That is not a no. Ren gave Sonic a look. Sonic slowly lowered his hand. Fine, nobody explodes before lunch. The joke helped, but only a little. Eggman had combat data. That meant every move Ren had made was now part of a file somewhere. Water blade, tree jump, cage reaction, hesitation around living animals. He could almost see Eggman's notes turning him into categories. Unknown, amphibious, combatant. Protective response, exploitable. Capture, recommended. Ren dug his claws into his palms until the thought passed. Tails slowed beside him. We can encrypt our scans, and I will not share anything about you without asking. Ren looked at him sharply. Tails did not flinch. I mean it. Eggman treats people like parts, I do not. Sonic's grin softened. Tails is the best kind of nerd, the kind with morals. Thanks, I think. Ren did not have words for the knot in his throat, so he settled for a small nod. It was not trust yet, but it was the first brick in the bridge. Tails's workshop came into view after the next hill, half hidden between trees and bright with moving parts. It looked nothing like a cage. It looked like a brain that had exploded into wood, metal, and propellers. Ren still stopped at the door. Sonic noticed and walked in first, slow for once. Open door. You can leave whenever. Tails nodded quickly. Windows, too. And the roof hatch, though please do not use that unless something is on fire. Ren studied the exits. Door, window, hatch, back wall with enough weak wood to break if he had to. Only then did he step inside. Tails pretended not to notice the inspection. That helped more than a speech would have. Ren chose the corner nearest the door and sat there first. Tails did not complain. Sonic did not tease him for it. The workshop hummed around them, full of tools that could become traps in the wrong hands, but for now every dangerous thing stayed on the walls. Ren noticed that too. When Tails set the scanner on the table, instead of pointing it at him, Ren finally let his shoulders lower. That was the moment Ren decided the workshop was not safe because it lacked danger. It was safe because Tails kept choosing not to use that danger against him. Ren remembered that. He would remember it again. Asterisk Chapter 5. Tails has questions. Tails's workshop was smaller than Ren expected and more dangerous than he liked. Tools covered every wall. Half-built gadgets sat on tables between loose springs, wires, circuit boards, and cups of cold mint tea. A red plane rested outside under a tarp. Something in the corner clicked every few seconds like it might explode if ignored long enough. Ren stood in the doorway and refused to touch anything. Sonic flopped into a chair backward. Relax, only some of it bites. Ren stared at him. Tails rushed past carrying 3 scanners, a notebook, and a roll of tape. That is not true. Most of it does not bite. Some of it overheats. Ren took one careful step inside. The floor creaked. He froze. Sonic laughed. You fought 6 badniks and a heavy grabber, but floorboards scare you. Ren pointed at a device sparking on the table. Okay, Sonic said, fair. Tails set a scanner on a stool and turned to Ren with both hands raised. I want to check your energy readings, but only if you agree. No cages, no restraints, no weird Eggman stuff. Ren studied him. Tails looked young. Younger than Ren's human brain wanted a genius mechanic to be. But his voice was careful, and his ears dipped whenever he mentioned Eggman, like the comparison bothered him too. Ren nodded once. Tails brightened. Great, stand here. The scan took 5 minutes. Ren understood maybe half of it. Water-type energy did not exist in Tails' database. Dark-type energy made the scanner display a warning symbol that Tails immediately insisted was probably not evil, just extremely weird. Ren's body temperature ran lower than Sonic's. His muscles stored energy in a way that looked closer to coiled springs than normal tissue. His tongue scarf had nerve readings, which made Ren pull it protectively around his neck, while Sonic tried and failed not to laugh. Then Tails tried the language test. Can you say, Sonic? Ren opened his mouth. S. The sound turned into a wet croak. Sonic put a hand over his mouth. Ren threw a tiny splash of water at him. Sonic dodged it, still laughing. Tails scribbled notes. Okay, vocal cords are not built for Mobian speech, but you understand language. That means a translator might work faster than speech training. Ren pointed at Tails, then made a typing motion. Yes, Tails said. A text translator first. Maybe gesture input, maybe sound mapping later. Ren pressed one hand to his chest, then pointed toward the forest where they had left Clover. Tails tilted his head. The rabbit. Ren nodded. Sonic's grin softened. Worried about your little buddy. Ren looked away. He was. That felt ridiculous. He had been in this world less than a day and had somehow acquired a rabbit, 2 famous heroes, and a mad scientist's attention. Sonic stood. We can swing back after Tails, get you something to write with. Tails dug through a drawer and produced a small slate with a stylus. Old prototype. It converts handwriting into text. No voice yet, but it should help. Ren took it carefully. His claws made writing awkward, but after a few tries, he scratched a message across the screen. Eggman wants me. Why help? Tails read it aloud. Sonic did not joke this time. Because you help the animals, he said. Because Eggman wanting someone is usually a good reason to keep them away from him. And because you looked scared when he called you his curiosity. Ren stared at the slate. He wrote another message. I am not from here. Tails' ears lifted. Sonic leaned forward. Ren hesitated. How much could he say? That they were fictional where he came from, that he knew things about Chaos Emeralds and world-ending machines, that he had died and woken up as a Pokémon in a universe that should not have Pokémon at all. He erased the line and wrote, I died somewhere else, woke up here like this. Eggman did not make me. Tails went very still. Sonic's expression lost its easy smile. Okay, Sonic said quietly. That is bigger than weird. Ren nodded. Tails looked at the scanner, then at Ren. Dimensional transfer, maybe, or strange dimensional energy, or something else. We need more data. Ren wrote, No cage. Tails looked hurt for half a second, then nodded firmly. No cage. Sonic pointed at the slate. Put that one in bold. The workshop alarm blared. Ren flinched, so hard water splashed across the floor. Tails spun to his console. Badnik movement, multiple squads heading toward Green Hill Animal Burrows. Sonic was already at the door. Eggman is testing the reaction. Ren looked at the slate in his hand. Then he wrote one word. Go. Sonic read it and smiled. Now you're speaking my language. Ren followed them out of the workshop, still clumsy, still frightened, still unable to speak. But this time he had a name written in Tails' device, allies who had promised no cages, and a reason to run toward danger instead of away from it. The moment Ren stepped outside, the air changed. Inside the workshop, danger had been screens, scanners, and the memory of cages. Outside, it had direction. The alarm pointed east. The wind carried oil and hot metal. Far off, animals cried out in short, sharp bursts that made Ren's hands curl before he noticed. Sonic saw it. We are moving fast, but we are not rushing blind. Tails. Tails snapped his goggles down over his eyes. 3 squads, maybe 4. They are spread in a search pattern around the burrow ridge. 1 drill unit, several grabbers, and scout drones above the tree line. Ren tapped the slate. Why burrows? Tails read while jogging. Because you protected animals twice. Eggman wants to know if you do it again. Ren's grip tightened until the slate creaked. Sonic ran a few steps ahead, then slowed enough to look back at him. Hey, he wants you angry. Anger makes people predictable. Ren stared at Sonic. That was rich coming from a hedgehog who solved most problems by launching himself face first at them. Sonic seemed to read the expression perfectly. I am predictable on purpose. Totally different thing. Tails coughed into one hand. It is not completely different. Ren made the clicking sound again, quieter this time. The humor steadied him, not much, but enough for him to think. Eggman wanted a reaction. That meant the obvious path was wrong. Charge in, break robots, free animals, get recorded. It would save lives but teach Eggman everything. Ren stopped beside a split in the trail and crouched over damp soil. Tails nearly ran past him. Ren. Ren drew 3 lines in the mud with 1 claw. Sonic's path across the open ridge, Tails' path above, his own path through the creek bed behind the burrows. Then he tapped the scout drone symbol twice and slashed a line through it. Tails leaned in. You want to take out the watchers before we hit the drill? Ren nodded. Sonic grinned. See, ninja guy gets it. Ren pointed at Sonic, then made a spinning motion. Distraction. Sonic put a hand to his chest. My greatest talent. The plan was simple, but it was his first real choice in this world. Not panic, not instinct, a plan. Ren slipped into the creek bed, while Sonic shot toward the ridge in a flash of blue. The creek bed was cold around Ren's feet, and the cold helped. Above him, Sonic became noise on purpose. He shouted at the badniks, bounced off a ridge, and led 3 flying scouts into chasing him in circles. Every metal eye turned toward blue motion. Ren moved under that distraction. He climbed the wet side of the bank, reached the first scout drone from below, and pulled it into the reeds before it could turn. One short water blade, one dead lens, no alarm. Tails' voice crackled from the scanner clipped to Sonic's borrowed wristband. First watcher down, 2 more. Drill unit is almost at the main entrance. Ren did not answer. He did not need to. He was already moving toward the second watcher. The second watcher almost saw him. Its lens swept over the creek just as Ren pressed himself under the lip of the bank, holding still while cold water ran over his hands. The drone drifted closer. Ren waited until its shadow crossed his face, then sprang upward and cut the engine's sound in half. No alarm, no wasted motion. Chapter 6, Burrow Run. The new Badnik squad was already at the burrows when Sonic arrived. Ren saw it from the tree line. 8 small robots spread across the hillside, metal claws digging through grass and roots, while tiny animals scattered in every direction. A larger drill-nosed machine sat in the center, grinding into the earth above the hidden tunnels. Sonic skidded to a stop below. Eggman's really leaning into the route today. Tails hovered overhead with his scanner. The drill unit is sending live data. It is not just capturing animals, it is measuring Ren's response. Ren gripped the slate Tails had given him. He wrote one word with a claw. Trap. Tails glanced down and nodded. Probably. Sonic cracked his knuckles. Then we spring it fast. Ren shook his head. Sonic paused. Ren pointed at Sonic, then at the open field. Then he pointed at himself and the trees. Finally, he drew a quick line around the robots on the slate. Tails' ears lifted. You want Sonic to draw their attention while you circle behind. Ren nodded. Sonic grinned. Ambush plan, I like it. Ren did not grin back. He was listening to the burrows. Heartbeats, dozens of them. Rabbits, birds, squirrels, small creatures trapped under roots while the drill machine shook their tunnels apart. His Greninja instincts mapped the ground by vibration. His human mind supplied the horror. If they fought badly, the burrows would collapse. Ren pointed at the drill, then made a cutting motion across his own palm. Tails understood first. Disable, don't explode. Sonic's grin faded into focus. Got it. Sonic moved. The robots turned toward the blue blur instantly. Lasers fired. Sonic bounced between them, fast enough to draw attention, but careful not to smash them into the burrow entrances. Ren vanished into the trees. He moved above the fight, branch to branch, silent except for the faint slap of damp feet on bark. The drill machine kept grinding. Its sensor dish tracked Sonic, ignoring the shadow dropping behind it. Ren landed on its back. The drill unit jolted. Ren formed a water blade and sliced through the exposed cable feeding the drill. The machine bucked, trying to throw him. He hooked one foot under a metal brace, grabbed the sensor dish, and twisted. Metal screamed. The drill stopped. Below, Sonic whooped. Nice. 2 flying drones rose from hidden compartments in the drill unit's shoulders. Ren barely ducked as a stun net snapped over the space where his head had been. Not animal capture. Ren capture. Eggman had adapted already. Ren threw himself sideways, hit the grass, and rolled under the drill unit. The drones followed, nets buzzing. Tails swept in from above and smacked one drone with his wrench. Sonic spin-dashed through another ground robot, freeing a squirrel from its capsule. Ren used the drill unit as cover, then sent 2 water shuriken into the drone's rotors. Both crashed. The remaining badniks tried to retreat with captured animals. Ren's chest tightened. He saw the path. He could chase the robots, cut them apart, free everything. He also saw the burrow roof trembling. If the drill unit collapsed wrong, the animals underground would be crushed. Ren pointed frantically at the ground. Tails shouted, "Sonic, the tunnels." Sonic changed direction mid-run and slammed into the drill unit from the side, not hard enough to explode it, just enough to tip its weight away from the burrow openings. Ren drove both water blades into the machine's leg joints and cut. The drill unit fell into the grass with a heavy thud. The burrows held. Only then did Ren chase the retreating robots. He moved like a shadow between Sonic's blue streaks. Sonic smashed armor. Ren cut capsule latches. Tails caught falling animals. Within minutes, the hillside was full of freed creatures racing for cover. Ren dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Small animals stared from the burrow entrances. None came close. That was fine. Alive was better than trusting. Tails landed beside him. "Ren, your plan worked." Ren wrote on the slate with shaking claws. "Eggman wanted me angry." Sonic read it, then looked toward the dead drill unit. "Yeah," he said quietly, "and you didn't give him what he wanted." The drill unit's broken speaker crackled. Eggman's voice came through, cheerful and sharp. "Oh, but he did give me something, Sonic. He gave me restraint data." Ren went cold. "That," Eggman continued, "is much more interesting." The speaker died. Ren stared at it. Eggman was not just learning how Ren fought. He was learning what Ren refused to do. Nobody chased Eggman's voice after the speaker died. That bothered Ren almost as much as the words themselves. Some part of him wanted a target he could break. A drone, a lab, a monitor with Eggman's grinning face on it. Anything solid enough to hit until the feeling in his chest went quiet. Instead, there was only the drill wreck, the rescued animals hiding in the brush, and Sonic watching him with unusual patience. Tails knelt by the broken speaker and pulled a small chip from behind the grill. Recorder. It was not transmitting everything live. Some data went out, but not all of it. Ren turned fast. Tails held up the chip. "We can still learn what he learned, maybe more." Sonic looked at the burrows. "Can we do it somewhere that is not surrounded by terrified civilians?" The word civilian sounded odd attached to rabbits and squirrels, but Ren understood what Sonic meant. These animals were not props. They were people in the only way that mattered, alive, afraid, and capable of trusting the wrong thing if heroes failed them. Clover emerged from one burrow entrance and froze when she saw the dead drill. Ren crouched lower. He did not reach for her. His hands still smelled like oil and torn metal. He remembered the flash of hunger from the first day, how it had scared him more than the robots. Clover approached anyway, slow and trembling. Sonic stayed silent. Tails did too. The rabbit touched Ren's claw with her nose. Ren closed his eyes. Alive was better than trusting, he had thought moments ago. That was still true, but trust mattered too. Not because he deserved it, but because Eggman was already trying to turn it into a weapon. Ren opened his eyes and wrote on the slate. "He will use them again." Tails read it and nodded. "Then we move them, or hide them better, or both." Sonic's smile came back, not playful this time, but sharp. "And we make sure Eggman gets bad data next time." Ren looked toward the trail, back to the workshop. For the first time, he wanted to go there, not because it was safe, because it had tools, allies, and a chance to turn fear into preparation. He picked up the broken recorder chip and handed it to Tails. Then he wrote one more line. "Teach me what he saw." Tails slipped the recorder chip into a padded case. "I can pull what it stored, but not here. If Eggman hid a secondary ping in it, I do not want to trigger that beside the burrows." Ren wrote quickly. "Can he track them?" "Not from this chip," Tails said. Then, after a painful pause, he added, "But he knows where these burrows are now." Sonic kicked a piece of drill casing hard enough to send it skidding across the grass. "Then we do not let him hit the same target twice." Clover vanished back into the tunnel, and Wren watched the burrow entrance long after she disappeared. He had protected this place once. Once would not be enough. That thought followed him all the way back toward the workshop. Sonic walked beside him instead of ahead for once. He did not fill the silence with jokes. That restraint told Wren the hedgehog understood more than his grin usually showed. Eggman had not just attacked a place. He had attacked the idea that Wren could choose kindness without being punished for it. Wren did not know how to answer that except by walking faster. The workshop waited ahead, and with it the ugly comfort of facts. Facts could hurt, but they could also be used. He needed those facts. Chapter 7. No Cages. Tails did not like the phrase restraint data. He said so 6 times on the way back to the workshop. Wren sat on the tornado's wing while Sonic jogged below, one hand resting on the slate in his lap. The plane was not flying, only rolling slowly over the grass while Tails used it to carry broken drone parts from the burrow fight. Eggman should not be able to model your behavior that quickly, Tails said, unless the heavy grabber and drill unit were both built to collect more than combat data. Sonic looked up. Translation. He is not only studying Wren's powers, he is studying his choices. Wren wrote, "Because I saved animals first." Tails read it and nodded grimly. Sonic kicked a loose pebble off the path. That sounds like Eggman. Find the good thing, build a trap around it. Wren looked toward the forest. Clover had not followed this time. Good. The rabbit was safer away from him. Probably. His instincts disagreed. They wanted to track, guard, keep every small heartbeat close enough to protect. Wren tightened his grip on the slate. At the workshop, Tails spread the recovered robot parts across a table. Wren stayed near the open door, watching the sky through the frame. Sonic noticed, but did not comment. Tails plugged a damaged drone core into his computer. The screen filled with sensor fragments. Blue-black silhouette, water energy readings, reaction time, target priorities, and a crude sketch of Wren catching the squirrel instead of attacking the drill unit. Wren's stomach turned. Sonic's ears flattened. Eggman made a profile. A bad one, Tails said, but enough to predict that Wren protects captured animals before chasing a target. Wren wrote, "Can use that against me." Sonic leaned against the workbench. Only if we let him choose the battlefield. Tails pulled up another file. The screen showed a new machine blueprint. Narrow body, long arms, net launchers, electric prongs, and water-resistant armor. The label was incomplete, but one word was clear. Frog catcher. Sonic stared. Wow, he is terrible at names today. Wren did not laugh. Electric prongs. Water-resistant armor. Nets. A machine designed for him. Tails closed the file quickly. It is not active yet. This is early design data. Wren wrote, "How long?" Tails hesitated. Knowing Eggman, not long. Sonic stepped closer to Wren. Then we train before it shows up. Wren looked at him. Sonic pointed outside. You keep trying to fight like you're alone. Tree roots, ambushes, disappearing. That's useful. But if Eggman's building around your habits, we change the habits. Wren wrote, "I am not fast like you." Sonic grinned. Good, one of me is plenty. Tails smiled, despite himself. You are not Sonic, Tails said. You do not need to be. You need to be Wren. Wren stared at the words on his slate until the screen dimmed. He needed to be Wren. Not the human he had been, not Ash's Greninja, not Eggman's mystery specimen, not Sonic's shadow. Wren. Whatever that meant. Training started badly. Sonic tried teaching him how to dodge by reading momentum. Wren kept vanishing into bushes. Tails tried building a simple gesture translator. Wren accidentally cracked the screen with one claw. Sonic set up moving targets. Ren hit every target, but only after hiding in a tree for 3 minutes, which Sonic insisted was cheating and Tails insisted was tactics. By sunset, Ren was exhausted. He sat beside the workshop pond, feet in the water, tongue scarf floating around his shoulders. Sonic dropped down beside him. Hey! Ren lifted the slate. Hey! Sonic looked out over the water. Eggman is going to keep coming. Ren nodded. You can leave if you want. Hide somewhere else. We would help. Ren looked at him sharply. Sonic shrugged. Just saying, no cage means no cage. That includes us. For a long moment, Ren did not write. He thought about waking alone. Clover's fear, the bird in the capsule, the squirrel in his hands. Eggman's voice saying curiosity like Ren was already property. Then he wrote, I stay. Sonic read it. His grin came back, smaller but warmer. Cool. The workshop alarm chirped. Tails leaned out the door. Ah, guys, Eggman just launched something from the North Ridge. The sky above Green Hill flashed red. A metal capsule split open in midair. Something long-limbed dropped from it and landed beyond the trees with a heavy electric crackle. Ren did not need the scanner to know. Frogcatcher had arrived. Frogcatcher's arrival turned the workshop from a safe place into a launch point. Tails grabbed 3 devices so quickly Ren barely followed the motion. The scanner, a coil of cable with a magnetic hook, and a palm-sized emitter with warning tape across one side. Sonic took none of it. He just rolled his shoulders and bounced lightly on his toes, already aimed at the door. Ren reached for the slate. Plan. Sonic glanced at it. Hit it until it stops trying to catch you. Tails shot him a look. That is not a plan. That is your autobiography. Ren made the dry clicking sound before he could stop himself. Sonic pointed at him. Betrayal from both of you. The joke lasted only a second. Outside, another electric crackle rolled across Green Hill. The lights in the workshop flickered. Ren smelled burnt grass through the open door. Tails turned the scanner around. The machine's outline appeared as a shaking red shape beyond the trees. It is not coming straight here. It is waiting. Ren stared at the outline. Waiting meant bait. He tapped the screen where the machine stood, then drew a small square on the slate. Cage. Tails swallowed. Maybe, or it wants you to think cage. Sonic's expression hardened. Eggman knows what buttons to push. That does not mean we let him. Ren looked at his own reflection in the dark workshop window. Greninja eyes looked back, red, narrow, too calm for how scared he felt. He had been running since he woke up. From death, from Eggman, from the idea that his new instincts made him less human. But Frogcatcher was not a storm he could outrun. It had been built from his choices. So he needed better choices. Ren wrote 3 short lines. No straight water. No solo attack. Watch for fake animals. Tails read them and nodded. Good. Its armor is probably designed for direct water hits anyway. I can jam 1 launcher if I get close enough. Sonic grinned without looking away from the door. I can get you close. Ren pointed to himself, then to the trees on the map. High angle, shadow, mud. And you make it trip, Sonic said. Ren nodded. The fear stayed, but underneath it, something colder settled into place. Eggman had built a catcher. Ren would answer like a ninja. Before they ran, Tails pushed a small earpiece towards Sonic and then hesitated in front of Ren. I do not know if this fits you, he said, and I am not putting anything on you without permission. Ren looked at the device. Small, open, not a collar, not a tag. Still, his skin crawled. He shook his head. Tails accepted it instantly. Okay, visual signals then. Sonic, if I wave red, pull back. Blue, draw fire. Yellow, Ren found something. Sonic saluted. Got it, mostly. Ren pointed at Sonic. then at his own eyes, then at Tails. "Watch him." Tails smiled despite everything. "I always do." Outside, Frogcatcher sparked again, waiting for its target to come running. Ren did not run. He chose his path. The plan was not perfect. Ren knew that. He knew fear could still make him move too soon, and pain could still make his new body lock up. But having a plan meant Eggman was not the only one thinking ahead. That single fact made the sparks outside sound less like a trap and more like an invitation to prove him wrong. Ren flexed his fingers once, letting a thin bead of water gather and vanish. Not a weapon yet. A reminder. He had control, allies, and a choice. Then he followed them into the fight. He chose the shadows, the mud, the signal, and the team, together. Asterisk Chapter 8, Frogcatcher. Frogcatcher landed beyond the trees, with a sound like a metal tower falling onto a live wire. Ren felt it through the soles of his webbed feet before he saw it. The impact shook loose needles from the pines and sent birds bursting from the branches. Then the machine unfolded. It was not shaped like any badnik he had fought before. It had 4 long legs, a narrow armored body, and 2 arms built around thick net launchers. Electric prongs snapped open along its sides. Blue warning lights ran down its frame like veins. Tails's scanner shrieked. "That's it," Tails shouted from the Tornado's open cockpit. "Frogcatcher model. Net launchers, electric stun system, water-resistant plating, and some kind of behavior recorder." Sonic rolled his shoulders. So Eggman built a machine to catch one guy. Ren stared at the machine. The prongs sparked again, white and sharp. One guy. That should have made him angry. Instead, it made him cold. Eggman had watched him save the burrows. Eggman had watched him stop short instead of crushing a helpless machine near the animals. Eggman had watched him choose. Now Eggman had built a cage around those choices. The machine's head turned, a red lens fixed on Ren. "Target confirmed," Eggman's voice sang from a speaker in its chest. My, you really do look tense. Do try to give me a decent show, amphibious mystery boy." Ren's throat clicked in a low croak. Sonic glanced at him. "Yeah, I know, creepy." Frogcatcher fired. The first net snapped across the clearing faster than Ren expected. Sonic shoved off the grass and blurred sideways, but Ren did not try to match him. He jumped up, planted one hand against a tree trunk, and kicked off into the branches. The net slammed into the bark below him. Metal hooks bit deep and hummed with electricity. Water would not solve this. That thought came from somewhere steadier than fear. Ren's first instinct was to throw a water shuriken at the machine's head and hope brute force worked. The armor was built for that. Tails had said so. Eggman wanted to see whether Ren would keep doing the obvious thing. Ren crouched on the branch and looked for what the machine needed. Legs balance, clear line of fire. He pointed 2 claws at the ground near Frogcatcher's front left leg, then slashed his hand sideways. Sonic caught the meaning immediately. "You want it off balance. Done." The hedgehog became a blue ring around the machine. Frogcatcher turned its launchers after him, but Sonic was too fast for the barrels to settle. Nets snapped into trees, rocks, empty air. Ren dropped. He hit the mud near the machine's leg, slapped both hands down, and pulled water from the soft ground instead of throwing it straight at the armor. The mud loosened. Frogcatcher's foot sank. It adjusted. Another leg came down. Tails dove low in the tornado. A cable shot from the plane's underside and hooked one of the net launchers. Sonic left. Sonic swerved. Frogcatcher fired anyway. The launcher jerked off target. The net wrapped around a boulder instead of Sonic, crackling uselessly. Ren moved under the machine. Every part of him hated that. His body wanted dark cover, height, surprise. The open space under Frogcatcher's belly felt like standing under a falling ceiling, but its armor was thick on top and front. Underneath, wires and hinges shifted with every step. Ren formed a smaller water shuriken, no bigger than his palm. He did not throw it at the armor. He cut a hydraulic line. Frogcatcher staggered. Eggman's voice crackled. Oh, learning already. The machine changed tactics. A sound burst from its speaker, high and panicked. Ren froze. It was the cry of a trapped animal, not a recording from anywhere obvious. It came in broken squeaks and terrified little gasps, close enough to the rabbit Clover's voice that Ren's chest tightened before his mind caught up. The machine's back opened. A small metal cage dropped into the grass on the far side of the clearing. Inside, something pale thrashed behind bars. Ren moved before he meant to. Ren, Tails yelled. He stopped one step short. The cage was wrong. The smell was wrong. Metal oil, hot wires. No rabbit scent, no living fear, no heartbeat. Just a speaker hidden under pale cloth and a tiny motor shaking the bars. Eggman knew he would run toward a cage. Ren's claws dug into the dirt. He forced himself to breathe. Then he looked at Sonic and shook his head. Sonic's face changed. The grin faded into something sharper. Fake. Ren nodded once. Then let's make him regret that part. Sonic shot forward, not toward the cage, but toward Frogcatcher's trapped leg. He slammed into the knee joint in a blue spin. Metal shrieked. Tails brought the tornado around and fired a pulse from a gadget mounted near the wing. The machine's behavior recorder sparked, its red lens flickering. Ren used the moment. He vanished into the broken shadow under Frogcatcher's body, climbed its side with claws and wet palms, and reached the housing behind its head. The water-resistant plating covered the front. It did not cover the seam where the speaker unit met the sensor stack. Ren drove both hands into the seam and pulled. Metal bent. Frogcatcher launched its last net point blank. Ren twisted, but the edge caught his shoulder and pinned one arm against his chest. Electricity burned through him. His muscles seized. For a breath he could not move, could not croak, could not even fall properly. The machine's lens focused on him from inches away. Excellent, Eggman said softly. Pain response, capture response, ally response. This has been wonderfully educational. Sonic hit the machine like a cannonball. The impact tore Frogcatcher sideways. Ren ripped free of the net as Tails's cable snatched the loose mesh and dragged it away. He landed badly, rolled through the grass, and came up shaking. Frogcatcher tried to stand. It only had 2 good legs left. Ren did not give it a third chance. He threw one water shuriken, not at the armor, but at the mud under its remaining support. Sonic struck the weakened knee at the same time. Tails's pulse hit the recorder again. The machine collapsed. Ren leapt onto its back and tore out the speaker before Eggman could say another word. Silence snapped over the clearing. For several seconds, only the damaged machine ticked and hissed beneath him. Then Sonic whistled. Okay, remind me never to fake threaten your friends. Ren slid off the wreck. His legs shook when he landed. The burned line across his shoulder strung with every breath, but he could move. Tails ran over with the scanner already open. Hold still, the net got you. Ren held still because Tails asked, not because he liked it. The scanner chirped. Tails's ears flattened. There, tiny tracking barb in the net edge. Eggman probably wanted it left under your skin. Ren went very quiet. Tails looked up quickly. I can remove it. No cages, no restraints, just tweezers. Ren stared at the little tool in Tails's hand. His body hated the idea of anyone touching the wound. His mind remembered a hospital bed in another life, bright lights, hands, pain, helplessness. Sonic stepped beside him but did not crowd him. Your call. That helped more than Ren wanted to admit. He nodded. Tails worked fast. The barb came out smaller than a thorn, black and silver, with a red dot blinking at its center. Tails crushed it under a wrench. "No more signal," he said. Ren let out a breath that sounded almost like a word. Sonic tilted his head. Was that a thanks? Ren picked up the slate from where it had fallen near the tornado. His claws scraped awkwardly over the surface. He wrote 3 words. Not a cage. Tails smiled, tired but relieved. Never. The broken frog catcher smoked behind them. Eggman had lost the machine. He had lost the tracker. He had not captured Ren. But Ren looked at the wreck and knew the truth anyway. Eggman had learned again. Next time, the cage would be smarter. Chapter 9. Data in the wound. Tails kept the tracking barb in a glass tube even after he crushed its signal. Ren did not like looking at it. The thing was smaller than a thorn, black at the base and silver at the tip, with a little red eye buried under the cracked casing. It should not have bothered him more than Frogcatcher's broken legs or the burn across his shoulder. It did anyway. The machine had touched him. It had left something under his skin. Ren sat on the workbench in Tails's garage with his feet hanging above the floor, one hand pressed to the bandage on his shoulder. Tails had cleaned the burn with shaking care and used no restraints, no hidden clamps, no trick tables. Sonic leaned near the door with his arms folded, pretending not to watch every tiny movement. "It's dead," Tails said, holding the tube up to the lamp. "Completely dead. No signal, no battery, no transmitter pulse." Ren stared at him. Tails's ears drooped. "That does not make it feel better, does it?" Ren took the slate from beside his knee and wrote slowly. "Eggman touched me." Sonic's expression tightened. Tails set the tube down like it had become heavier. "Yeah, I know." Ren added another line. "He learned." "He did," Tails admitted, "but not everything." Frogcatcher recorded movement patterns, pain response, and how you reacted to the fake cage. It did not get live biology. The barb was supposed to help with that later, probably by tracking you to a resting place or making another machine lock onto your exact body signal. Ren's claws clicked against the slate. Body signal. Tails turned the scanner screen toward him. The display showed blue lines moving around a black silhouette shaped nothing like a Mobian. Long legs, narrow waist, head fins, tongue scarf. "Every living thing has little traces," Tails said. "Heat, electrical activity, scent, movement rhythm, stuff like that. You also have weird water energy readings I cannot explain yet. Eggman caught enough to know you are not just a fast animal." Ren gave a flat croak. Sonic snorted. Pretty sure he figured that out when you ripped the speaker out of his fancy frog trap. Ren looked toward the ruined machine parts stacked outside the garage door. Tails had dragged the safest pieces back for study. Sonic had called it evidence. Ren called it bad memories with bolts. A small rustle came from under the bench. Ren froze. Clover crept out from behind a toolbox, nose twitching. The rabbit had no reason to be inside Tails's workshop. Ren had last seen her at the burrows, safe with the other animals after Frogcatcher's crash. Somehow she had followed them anyway. Sonic lifted both hands. "Not me." "She probably hid in the supply crate," Tails said, startled. "I checked for loose wires, not passengers." Clover hopped closer. Ren went still in the way his new body preferred. Silent, balanced, ready to spring away. The rabbit stopped at the edge of the workbench shadow and looked up at him. The fake cage sound came back in Ren's head. Tiny panicked squeaks, metal bars shaking, Eggman's voice purring about data. His throat tightened. Clover tapped one foot against the floor. Ren picked up the slate. "Sorry." Tails read it, then looked from Ren to the rabbit. "For what?" Ren could not write the whole thing, not easily, not the way it felt. He settled for the part he could carve into words. "Almost ran to fake you." Sonic's face softened in a way Ren did not know how to handle. "That is not something you apologize for," Sonic said. "Eggman used a dirty trick. You caught it." Ren shook his head. "Almost did not." Clover hopped onto a low crate, then onto a stool, then onto the bench beside him. Ren did not move. The rabbit sniffed the bandage on his shoulder and thumped once, offended on his behalf. Tails smiled despite the worry still sitting under his eyes. "I think she is mad at Eggman too." Ren made a sound that might have been a laugh if his mouth had been human. Then the scanner chirped again. "Not from the barb. From Frogcatcher's recorder." Tails spun toward it. "That is not supposed to be on." Sonic was already moving. How bad? The cracked recorder sat inside a metal tray on the far table. Its red lens flickered weakly, once, twice, then projected a wavering image above the bench. Eggman's face appeared in static. "If you are seeing this," the recording said, "then congratulations, Fox Boy. You are slightly less careless than I hoped." Tails bristled. "It is a dead drop recording. By now, my first frog catcher has either captured the specimen, exploded, or been reduced to parts by those irritating heroic tendencies everyone insists on having." Eggman smiled wider. "All acceptable outcomes. The real test was never the net." Ren slid off the bench. Sonic stepped beside him. "Then what was?" The recording could not hear him, but Eggman answered anyway. "The test was whether the specimen protects prey, obeys allies, avoids lethal force, and responds to emotional bait. Thank you for answering all four." Ren's hand closed into a fist. Water gathered between his claws. Tails moved carefully, putting one hand near Ren's arm without grabbing it. "Ren." Ren looked at the fox. Tails did not say calm down. He did not say stop. He only pointed at the slate. Ren breathed once through his nose and let the water fall to the floor. Eggman's recording continued. "Phase 2 will be much more elegant. No crude nets. No obvious cages. If an unknown creature values freedom, then one must design a prison it chooses to enter." The projection cut out. Silence filled the garage. Sonic broke it first. "I hate when he gets dramatic." Tails swallowed. "A prison Ren chooses to enter. That means bait, a hostage maybe, or a fake emergency." Ren looked at Clover. The rabbit pressed against his leg, warm and real. He wrote one word. "Burrows." Sonic pushed off the doorframe. "You think he is going after the animals again?" Ren nodded, then pointed to the dead recorder, to the barb tube, to Clover. Eggman had not needed a tracker if he already knew what Ren would protect. Tails grabbed his scanner and goggles. "Then we warn the burrows, move them before Eggman does, and set our own trap." Ren blinked. "Our trap?" Sonic grinned at him. "You heard him. Eggman wants to know what choices you make. Great, let's give him one he hates." Ren looked down at the slate, then wiped it clean with the side of his hand. His shoulder burned. His legs still felt weak from the shock. Fear stayed under his ribs like a second heartbeat. But it was not the same fear as before. Before, he had been a lost monster, trying not to be caged. Now he had allies, a warning, and a fox with tools already flying across the workshop. Ren wrote carefully. "No cages." Then, after a pause, he added, "For anyone." Sonic read it and smiled. "Yeah," he said, "that sounds like a plan." Tails was already moving again, pulling a map of Green Hill onto the main screen. It was not a clean map like the ones Ren remembered from games. This one had Tails's handwritten notes, animal trails, old tunnels, collapsed badnik routes, and warning marks where Eggman had attacked before. "The burrows are here," Tails said, tapping one cluster. "If Eggman wants Ren to choose a prison, he needs pressure. He needs something Ren will not ignore." Sonic pointed at a narrow valley east of the workshop. And if we move the animals through there, Eggman sees it. Tails nodded, unless we make him see exactly what we want. Ren studied the map. His eyes found shadows first. Tree lines, creek beds, broken stone, the dark underside of a bridge where a Greninja body could wait unseen. His old human mind would have called it a route. His new instincts called it a hunt. He tapped the bridge. Sonic leaned closer. Ambush spot. Ren shook his head, then wrote, Deco spot. Tails's face brightened. You want Eggman to think you are hiding there. Ren nodded. But you will actually be. Ren pointed to the creek, then to the trees above it. Sonic laughed under his breath. Okay, that is sneaky. Clover thumped again, as if approving the plan. Ren looked at the small rabbit, then at Sonic and Tails. The fear did not leave, but it changed shape. It became attention. It became patience. It became a quiet promise that the next cage Eggman built would close on empty air. Asterisk Chapter 10. Empty Burrows. Moving an entire burrow was harder than fighting Frogcatcher. Ren learned that within the first 5 minutes. Robots were simple in one important way. They came at you, you broke them, and the people trapped inside ran free. A burrow was different. It was home. It had tunnels, nests, stored food, hidden exits, old routes worked into the walls, and frightened animals who did not understand maps or deco plans. Clover understood more than most. The rabbit stood on a flat stone beside Tails's portable projector, while the fox displayed a glowing map of Green Hill. Clover kept thumping at the wrong time, which somehow still helped. When she thumped twice, the smaller animals paid attention. When she hopped toward the creek route, a cluster of birds and squirrels followed. Sonic watched with his hands on his hips. I'm not saying she is in charge. Tails adjusted the projector. She might be in charge. Ren made a quiet clicking sound and wrote on the slate. Respect, Leader Clover. Sonic pointed at him. Do not encourage the tiny general. Clover thumped once. Sonic sighed. See, now she knows. The joke kept the air from becoming too heavy, but it did not remove the danger. Ren could smell fear all around them, sharp and warm under the grass. Animals slipped from tunnel mouths carrying scraps of bedding, cracked nuts, bits of cloth, and things Ren could not identify, but that clearly mattered. None of them looked at him for long. They trusted Clover, Tails, and Sonic more than the dark, silent predator standing near the creek. That was fine. Ren did not need them to trust him. He needed them alive. Tails crouched beside the map. We split the move into 3 groups. Sonic escorts the loud group over the ridge where Eggman can see movement. I take the real group through the low creek path with the projector shield. Ren leaves traces at the bridge, so Eggman thinks he is hiding there. Ren nodded. The bridge sat east of the burrows, half broken, shadowed by moss and hanging roots. It was perfect bait. Dark, wet, narrow, and exactly the kind of place a Greninja would choose if he wanted to ambush something. Eggman knew enough to expect that. So Ren would give him what he expected. He moved ahead of the evacuation, keeping low in the grass. His shoulder still ached from Frogcatcher's net, but pain had become information. Raise arm too high, burn pulls, push off left side, leg trembles. Use water shuriken too quickly, shoulder stiffens. He adapted. At the bridge, Ren pressed wet handprints into the stone. He cut shallow claw marks into the moss where a scanner would find them. He left a thin ribbon of water pulsing in the shadow under the bridge, held there by concentration until it looked like he was waiting inside. Then he climbed into the trees above the creek and vanished. Not invisible, not completely, just still enough that leaves hid the shape of him. Below, Sonic began the performance. Hey, over here, the hedgehog shouted, loud enough to wake half the zone. Big evacuation, super obvious heroic rescue happening this way. Tails's voice crackled from Sonic's wrist communicator. You do know subtlety exists, right? Never met her. Ren watched through the leaves as Sonic led a decoy group across the ridge. Empty baskets, loose bedding bundles, and a few brave birds who knew when to scatter. From a distance, it looked like a messy evacuation. Up close, it was bait with sneakers. The real group moved under the creek's edge. Tails carried the projector in both hands. A faint shimmer bent light around the animals, not making them invisible, but making the eye slide away. Clover led the front. Ren tracked every twitch of grass near them, every drone shadow, every strange silence. The first scout arrived low over the bridge. Eggman had changed the design. This drone was not round and loud like the earlier scouts. It looked like a metal dragonfly, thin and quiet, with 4 glass wings and a needle nose. It swept the bridge once, twice. The red lens focused on the wet handprints. Ren did not move. The drone dipped toward the shadow under the bridge. Good. It fired a capture dart into the water ribbon. The ribbon burst. For half a second, the drone believed it had struck something. Its little wings flared. A signal pulsed from its body toward the north ridge. Ren dropped from above. He did not use water. He landed on the drone with both feet, crushed its wings against the stone, and drove one claw through the signal core before it could update Eggman. The drone died silently. Ren caught the broken shell before it hit the creek. Then he heard Clover's warning thump. Not 1. 3. Ren looked toward the real evacuation route. The grass beyond Tails's shimmer moved the wrong way. Not wind, not animals, something beneath the soil. Ren clicked his tongue sharply. Tails looked up. The ground split open. A ring of small machines burst from the dirt around the real group, each one no bigger than a coconut, each unfolding thin metal ribs into half-cage shapes. They did not grab. They did not attack. They formed doors. Open doors. Inside each little cage, a soft green light glowed like safety. Tails went pale. Sonic, Eggman found the real route. Sonic blurred down from the ridge. On it. The animals panicked. Some bolted away from the open cages. Others, confused by the lights and the sudden noise, moved toward them. Ren understood with a chill, so deep it cut through pain. A prison Ren chooses to enter. Not for him. For them. The cages were built to look like shelter. Ren launched himself from the bridge tree. He hit the creek bank in a skid, threw a water shuriken low across the ground, and sliced through 3 cage hinges before they could close. Sonic smashed another line of cages in a blue arc. Tails dropped the projector and grabbed Clover before one cage snapped shut around empty air. Eggman's voice spilled from every little machine at once. Shelter is such a flexible word, is it not? Ren ripped one cage open with both hands. You protect them, specimen. They seek safety. I provide safety. Everyone behaves exactly as predicted. Ren's hands shook. He wanted to break every speaker. He wanted to find Eggman and make him afraid of the word cage forever. Instead, he looked at the animals. They were watching him. If he lost control now, Eggman would learn that too. Ren forced himself to breathe, then pointed at Sonic, then at the remaining cages. He pointed at Tails, then at the animals. Finally, he pointed at himself and the ground. Hold line. Tails understood. Sonic, clear the cages. I will keep them moving. Sonic shot past. Ren, incoming. From the broken soil rose a taller machine, thin as a spear, with a glass tank in its chest. Inside the tank was empty space shaped exactly like Ren. The door opened. Eggman laughed softly. Your turn. Ren stared at the empty container. Then he stepped away from it and into the path between the machine and the animals. He wrote nothing. He did not need to. No cages meant no cages. For anyone. The tall machine did not move yet. That gave Ren 3 seconds to think. 3 seconds was enough. He scraped one claw through the mud and pointed to the left side of the creek. Sonic followed the mark with his eyes, then nodded once. Tails saw it too and began shifting the last animals away from the obvious path, using the projector shimmer to hide the turn. Eggman wanted Ren to choose the open tank. Ren chose the ground instead. He slammed both palms into the wet soil. Water threaded through the mud, not rising into a blade, but spreading under the machine's feet. If the tank wanted to be an invitation, Ren would make the floor refuse it. The machine stepped forward. Its front leg sank. Sonic grinned. That is my cue. He shot past Ren and struck the machine's side, not hard enough to finish it, just hard enough to make it correct its balance the wrong way. The glass tank tilted. The open door swung wider, waiting for a prisoner who was no longer standing where Eggman expected him. Tails shouted from the creek, "Last group through." Ren let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. For the moment, the animals were clear. Asterisk Chapter 11, The Cage That Asked Asterisk. The glass tank did not chase Ren. That was the worst part. It stood in the churned dirt between the creek and the burrows with its door open, patient and shining. The machine around it had long, folded legs, thin arms, and a narrow head that turned with Ren's smallest movement. But it did not lunge. It did not fire nets. It did not spark with electric prongs. It waited like an invitation. Behind Ren, Tails herded the animals along the creek with Clover pressed against his shoulder. Sonic tore through the little shelter cages one after another, leaving broken green lights scattered across the grass. Eggman's voice came from the tall machine, almost gentle. "I know you understand enough, mystery boy, so let us not pretend. Step inside, and the small animals leave unharmed." Ren's fingers curled. Sonic skidded to a stop beside him. "No deal." The machine's head turned towards Sonic. Naturally, the hedgehog rejects bargaining. He has always preferred property damage to conversation. And I am great at both. Sonic launched forward. The machine did not dodge like a normal badnik. It folded. Its legs bent in 4 directions at once, lowering the tank under Sonic's spin. Sonic clipped one shoulder, tore metal loose, and bounced off into the grass. The tank stayed upright. The open door never even rattled. Tails shouted from the creek. "It is stabilized around the container. The cage is the protected core." Ren heard the warning. He also heard the smaller sounds, paws scrambling over stones, wings beating in panic, Clover's feet thumping against Tails's vest. The trap was not just the tank. The trap was time. Every second Ren fought, animals stayed in danger. Every second he hesitated, Eggman learned what pressure worked. If Ren charged recklessly, the machine would record rage. If he entered the tank, Eggman won. If he ran, the animals paid. Ren needed a 4th answer. He pointed to Sonic, then drew a circle in the air. Sonic's eyes narrowed. "Keep it busy." Ren nodded. He pointed to Tails, then to the broken shelter cages. Tails called back, "I can salvage the projector parts if I get 30 seconds. Ren tapped his own chest, then pointed down. "Hold." Sonic grinned. "You sure?" Ren gave him a flat look. Right. Ninja guy hates speeches. I am moving." Sonic became motion. He attacked from every side without committing to a straight hit, bouncing off rocks, trees, and broken cage frames. The tall machine turned after him, arms unfolding into shield panels whenever Sonic got close to the tank. Ren stayed still. That was harder than fighting. The tank faced him. Its open door glowed faintly blue inside. The space was exactly his height, exactly his shape, molded for head fins, narrow limbs, and tongue scarf. Eggman had not built a generic cage. He had built an answer to Ren. "Comfortable, is it not?" Eggman asked. "I took the liberty of estimating your posture. No cramped limbs, No crude restraints. You will be perfectly safe inside while I move the delicate creatures away from all this chaos. Ren's mouth opened in a silent snarl. Safe. Eggman made the word filthy. Tails slid behind a broken shelter cage and ripped out the green light emitter. Ren, the little cages use comfort lights and directional sound. That is why some animals moved toward them. Ren understood. The machine was not only asking him to enter, it was making the idea feel calm. His skin crawled. The blue glow inside the tank pulsed in a slow rhythm, almost like breathing. His burned shoulder hurt less when the light touched it. His heartbeat tried to match the pulse. Ren stepped back. Eggman's voice sharpened for the first time. Ah, you noticed. Ren smiled without humor. Then he threw mud at the tank. Not water, not a blade. Mud from the creek, thick with grit and leaves. It slapped across the blue glow and blocked the light for one precious second. Sonic saw the change. Nice. He ricocheted off a tree and smashed into the machine's left shield panel. Metal buckled. Ren moved at the same time, low and fast, aiming not for the tank, but for the legs stabilizing it. The machine tried to fold away. Ren had expected that. He threw a water shuriken at the ground behind its rear legs, turning soil to slick mud. Sonic struck the front. The machine shifted, found no purchase, and tilted. Tails shouted, "Projector ready." A shimmer snapped across the creek path. The animals vanished into bent light one group at a time, Clover last, ears flat, but eyes fixed on Ren. Eggman noticed, too. No. The tall machine abandoned the tank's patient posture and lunged toward the projector. Ren intercepted it. He hit the machine shoulder first, pain exploding through the burn, and wrapped both arms around one of its thin legs. It dragged him 3 feet through the mud. His claws tore furrows in the ground. The tank door swung above him like a waiting mouth. Sonic slammed into the machine's head. Tails fired the salvaged comfort light emitter straight into the open tank. Blue light flooded the container from inside out. For a heartbeat, the machine froze. What did you do? Eggman snapped. Tails's voice shook, but he sounded proud. Made your cage invite itself. The tank door closed on empty air. Locks slammed down. The machine's own systems chirped. Capture confirmed. Ren let go and rolled away just before the legs folded inward around the sealed tank. Sonic hit the weakened head again, driving it into the mud. Ren formed a water shuriken with both hands and cut through the exposed control spine. The machine collapsed around its empty prison. Eggman's speaker sputtered. That does not count. Sonic stood on the broken tank, 1 foot planted on the glass. Pretty sure the machine disagrees. Ren pushed himself upright. His shoulder burned badly now. His arms trembled. Mud covered his chest and face, and his tongue scarf hung heavy with creek water. But the animals were gone. Safe for the moment. Tails ran to him, then stopped just outside arm's reach. Can I check the burn? Ren almost nodded automatically. Then he paused, because the question mattered. Tails had asked even in the middle of smoke and broken machines. Ren nodded. Tails worked quickly. You tore it open again. Not awful, but you need rest. Sonic hopped down from the cage. Heard that, ninja guy. Rest. That means no dramatic disappearing into trees. Ren picked up the slate from where it had fallen in the mud. The surface was smeared, but it still worked after he wiped it with his wrist. He wrote, "Empty cage." Sonic read it and laughed. Yeah, best kind. Tails looked toward the creek, where the shimmer had faded after the last animal passed through. Eggman knows we can trick his emotional traps now. Ren stared at the sealed tank. Eggman also knew more than before. He knew comfort lights worked for a moment. He knew Ren would hold a line instead of entering. He knew Sonic and Tails could help Ren choose a 4th answer. That meant the next trap would be meaner. Ren wrote one more line. We move before next one. Sonic's grin turned sharp. Exactly. We do not wait for Eggman to build the next cage. Tails picked up the dead machine's control spine. Then we follow this back to wherever he sent it from. Ren looked at the dark trees beyond Green Hill. He was tired, hurt, still unable to say what he meant without a slate. But he was not cornered. Not anymore. The relocated animals waited beyond the creek in a hollow screened by roots and hanging vines. They were not calm, exactly, but they were alive. Clover sat at the entrance like a guard captain too small for the job and too stubborn to abandon it. Ren crouched at the edge of the hollow and watched the animals settle into temporary nests. None of this was permanent. Eggman had forced them out of their home with a trap that pretended to be shelter. That made something hot and ugly twist under Ren's ribs, but it did not become panic. Not this time. Tails packed the control spine into a padded case. If I can read its root memory, we may find the relay station it came from. Sonic cracked his knuckles, and then we pay Eggman a visit. Ren wrote on the slate. Not rush. Sonic opened his mouth. Tails pointed at the slate. He is right. Sonic closed his mouth, then shrugged. Fine, we rush carefully. Ren stared at him. What? That is growth. Despite the burn, despite the mud, despite the empty cage still sitting broken behind them, Ren made the clicking almost laugh again. Asterisk Chapter 12, Root Memory. The control spine did not want to give up its secrets. Tails spent 20 minutes arguing with it. Not talking to it, arguing. He sat cross-legged on the floor of the temporary hollow with the broken machine part balanced on a folding tray, goggles pushed over his eyes, tools scattered in a neat half-circle around him. Every time the spine sparked, clicked, or flashed a red warning light, Tails answered with a different tool and a muttered insult too technical for Sonic to understand. Sonic lay on a low branch above them, 1 foot swinging. How is the interrogation going? It has terrible manners, Tails said. Ren sat near the hollow entrance with his bandaged shoulder turned away from the damp wall. The burn still hurt, especially after tackling the open-tank machine, but pain was becoming part of the background. He could move. He could fight if he had to. He could also wait. That was harder. Clover sat beside his foot, ears angled toward the forest. The relocated animals rested deeper in the hollow, hidden behind vines and Tails's projector shimmer. They were alive, but they were not home. Ren kept looking at them and seeing the little comfort-lit cages opening in the grass. Shelter is such a flexible word. Eggman's voice had made the word crawl. Ren picked up the slate. How far? Tails glanced over. From the relay, not sure yet. The machine wiped most of its pathing when it collapsed, but it forgot to erase power draw records. That is something. Sonic rolled off the branch and landed lightly. Translation. It walked here from somewhere that recharged it. Probably not Eggman's main base. Too small. A field station may be hidden under terrain. Ren wrote. Near burrows. Close enough to launch fast, Tails said. Far enough that we did not hear it digging in. That narrows it. The control spine chirped. Tails froze. A small map flickered above the tray, broken into red lines and static. Green Hill appeared as a rough wireframe. Creek, ridge, bridge, burrow cluster, and several tunnels Ren had not seen from above. Then a red mark pulsed under the north ridge. Sonic leaned closer. Found you. Tails grinned. Relay station. Ren studied the mark. It sat near a ring of old stone arches half buried in the hillside. He remembered seeing them while moving through the trees earlier. Moss, broken pillars, and deep shadow. A good place to hide a machine door. Too good. He tapped the slate. Trap. Sonic nodded, obviously. Tails nodded too, definitely. Ren looked between them. They both sounded excited. He wrote, "Bad thing." Sonic read it and laughed. "Yeah, but it is our obvious trap now." That was not as reassuring as Sonic seemed to think. Tails saved the map to his scanner. "We do not go straight in. We scout first. Ren, you can get close through the creek shadows. Sonic can stay wide and visible, make Eggman think we are doing the usual thing." Sonic put a hand over his heart. "I have been promoted to usual thing." "You promoted yourself years ago." Ren pointed to Tails, then the hollow. "Stay." Tails hesitated. "Someone has to keep the projector stable for the animals, but I also need to read the station when we get there." Ren did not like that. The hollow felt safer with Tails in it. The relay felt safer with Tails reading it. Both could not be true at once, and yet they were. Clover solved the argument by hopping onto the projector case and thumping once. Tails blinked. "You want to guard it." Clover thumped again. Sonic crossed his arms. Tiny General has spoken. Ren stared at the rabbit. Clover stared back with the absolute confidence of someone who had survived robots, fake cages, and being accidentally smuggled in a supply crate. Ren wrote, "Hide, run if danger." Clover thumped a third time. He chose to take that as agreement. They left the hollow quietly. Sonic did not sprint at first. He walked beside Ren through the trees, slower than Ren had ever seen him move. Tails flew low behind them, scanner dimmed, Tails barely stirring the air. "You know," Sonic said, "you are getting better at bossing people around without words." Ren gave him a side look. "Compliment." Ren wrote while walking, messy but readable. "You need bossing." Tails made a tiny, choking sound behind them. Sonic grinned. "Wow, betrayal is becoming a theme today." Ren's mouth twitched. The humor faded as the North Ridge came into view. The stone arches rose from the hillside like broken ribs. Grass grew over the old path leading between them. No drones hovered above. No badniks patrolled. No obvious cameras turned in the sunlight. Too quiet. Ren crouched. The air smelled wrong. Damp stone, old moss, and underneath it, hot metal buried deep. He pointed to the ground. Tails checked the scanner and whispered, "Power line below us." Sonic rolled his shoulders. So Eggman dug under the ruins. Ren nodded, then pointed to himself and the shadows near the arches. He pointed to Sonic and the open path. He pointed to Tails and a fallen pillar with enough cover for the fox to work. Tails understood. "You scout. Sonic distracts if anything wakes up. I find the access panel." Sonic cracked a grin, carefully rushing. Ren held up one claw. Sonic sighed. "Fine," quietly, carefully rushing. Ren slipped ahead. The ruins were colder than the rest of Green Hill. Stone blocked the sun in uneven strips. Ren moved through those strips, letting shadow break up his outline. His shoulder complained when he climbed the first arch, but he ignored it until he reached the top. From above, he saw the seam. It ran between two mossy stones at the center of the ruins, too straight to be natural. A hidden hatch. Around it, tiny holes dotted the ground in a circle. Not cameras. Nozzles. Ren's skin prickled. He signaled yellow with Tails's agreed hand sign. Found something. Tails moved toward the fallen pillar. The ground clicked. Every nozzle opened at once, releasing a soft blue mist. Ren stopped breathing. Sonic blurred backward. Mist. Tails slapped a filter over his mouth. Comfort light aerosol, do not inhale. Ren already had not. His body knew ambush. His instincts had locked his breath before his mind understood why. The mist spread low across the ruins, glowing faintly, the same calm blue as the open tank. Eggman's voice rose from beneath the stones. "I did wonder whether you would follow the spine." Curiosity, protectiveness, teamwork, such reliable little leashes. The hidden hatch began to open. Ren backed along the arch, eyes narrowed. They had found the relay. Eggman had let them. Sonic looked up at him through the blue mist and grinned like danger was a dare. "Still our trap," he called. Ren formed a water shuriken in one hand and pointed it at the opening hatch. Not yet, he thought. But it could be. The hatch stopped halfway open. For one breath, nothing came out. Then the relay station began to breathe. Air pulled inward through the hatch with a low mechanical hum, dragging the blue mist across the stones in thin ribbons. Ren dug his claws into the arch and stayed above it. Sonic backed onto a fallen pillar, one hand over his nose, even though Ren doubted that would help much. Tails crouched behind cover with his filter pressed tight to his face, scanner held out at arm's length. "It is cycling the mist," Tails called, trying to keep it low and concentrated. Sonic grimaced. Great, evil fog with manners. Ren watched the mist move. It was not spreading randomly. It flowed toward warm shapes, curling around Sonic's shoes, licking at the stone beneath Tails's knees, reaching up the arch toward Ren in slow, searching threads. The comfort light had been aglow. This was a hunt disguised as calm. Ren pointed two claws at the creek line below the ruins, then made a cutting motion. Tails looked where he pointed. Water channel. If we flood the low groove, we can push the aerosol away from the hatch. Sonic brightened, so he washed the creepy calm away. Ren nodded once. The hatch opened another inch. Something inside clicked like a lock turning. Eggman's voice returned, closer now, coming from the open dark under the stones. "Careful, little specimen. You are injured. Your allies are vulnerable. Would it not be easier to rest?" The mist pulsed. For a second, Ren's shoulder stopped hurting. That scared him more than the pain. He slashed his water shuriken into the creek groove. Water burst up and ran through the channel, thin at first, then stronger as he pulled more from the damp soil. Sonic jumped down and spun along the edge, carving a trench with his speed. Tails fired a small fan device into the flow, pushing the mist back toward the open hatch. The blue haze recoiled. Ren breathed again. Below the relay, a red light blinked in the dark. Not a cage this time. A camera. Eggman was still watching. Ren looked straight at the lens and lifted the slate just long enough for the message, already scratched into its surface, to face the opening. No cages. Then he leapt from the arch toward the hatch. Asterisk Chapter 13. Under the North Ridge asterisk. Ren hit the hatch feet first. The metal edge bent under him, but it did not break. Eggman's relay station was built better than the little shelter cages, better than the scout drones, better than anything he had thrown at the burrows so far. Ren felt the impact climb through his legs and into the burn on his shoulder. Pain flashed white. He kept moving. Sonic shot past beneath him, a blue streak cutting through the last ribbons of comfort mist. Tails's fan device whined behind them, pushing the haze back from the hatch long enough for all three of them to see inside. The relay station was not a room. It was a throat. A narrow tunnel sloped down under the ruins, lined with black metal plates and tiny blue lamps. Cables ran along the walls like veins. Every few feet, a camera lens blinked awake, saw Ren, and turned red. "That is welcoming," Sonic said. Ren landed beside the hatch and held the slate toward the nearest camera. No cages. The lens zoomed in. Eggman's voice crackled through hidden speakers. "Yes, yes, very inspiring. Do you practice those dramatic little signs, or does the fox write them for you?" Ren lowered the slate. Sonic cracked his knuckles. "You want me to break the speakers first or last?" Tails crouched by the hatch controls. "Last. I need him talking long enough to track where the signal routes." Sonic looked offended. You want me to let Eggman monologue? For science. That is cruel, buddy. Ren made the quiet clicking almost laugh, then pointed down the tunnel. Tails checked the scanner. Power readings are stable. No large robots immediately inside. Lots of small emitters, though, probably more comfort light systems. Ren pointed at his nose and shook his head. Right, filters. Tails handed Sonic a small mask. Sonic put it on upside down first. Tails fixed it with the exhausted patience of someone who had done this before. Ren refused the mask when Tails offered one. Tails did not argue. He only nodded. You can hold your breath better than us, but signal if you feel strange. Ren tapped the slate twice. They entered the tunnel. The hatch above stayed open. That mattered. Ren checked it twice before descending. Open exit. Known path back. No doors shutting behind him. Eggman noticed. Still counting exits. Good. A cautious specimen survives longer. Ren ignored him. The tunnel smelled like hot plastic, old stone, and something sweet underneath. The sweet smell made his thoughts soften at the edges if he breathed too deeply. He kept his breath short and shallow. Sonic walked ahead just enough to draw cameras. Tails stayed behind a half step, scanner low, following the signal lines. Ren took the walls. He climbed above them and moved along the cables, claws finding seams in the metal. His shoulder hated it. His body loved it. Up here, the tunnel made more sense. Cameras pointed low. Missed emitters faced the floor. Eggman expected fear to keep targets grounded. Ren was tired of being expected. He reached the first emitter and cut its cable with a water blade no longer than his finger. The blue lamp died. Tails glanced up and smiled through the mask. Good. 3 more emitters died before the tunnel opened into a chamber. This room was circular, low-ceilinged, and full of screens. Not big screens like Eggman's dramatic speeches. Small ones. Dozens of them, each showing a different angle of Green Hill. Burrow entrances, the creek hollow, the bridge decay, the old ruins, even Tails'